Have you ever had one of those moments where your entire life changes in the split second it takes to hit send? For Ethan Parker, that moment came at 11:47 p.m. on a rainy Thursday night in Seattle. Single father. Creative director. A man who'd spent 3 years rebuilding his life after losing his wife Rachel, one careful piece at a time. He was good at being careful. Good at keeping his head down, his work sharp, and his heart locked away. Until he wasn't. The text was meant for his best friend. "Dude, my boss is ridiculously hot. That burgundy dress today, criminal. Can't think straight when she's around." It went to Victoria Chen instead, his boss, the woman he'd just described. His phone screen glowed in the darkness of his living room. 3 dots appeared. "Tori is typing." Then, "My office, 8:00 a.m. sharp." Nothing else. Ethan stared at his daughter's photo on the coffee table and felt everything he'd built start to crumble. Drop a comment with your city. I love seeing how far these stories travel. Now, let me take you into Ethan's world. The alarm went off at 6:15 a.m., but Ethan had been staring at the ceiling for hours. Sleep was impossible. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw that text message. Saw Tori's name at the top. Saw those 4 words, "My office, 8:00 a.m. He dragged himself out of bed and stumbled into the kitchen. Coffee first. Then figure out how to explain to his 9-year-old daughter that Daddy just lost his job because he couldn't keep his thoughts to himself. The pancake batter splattered across the counter as he mixed too aggressively. His hands were shaking. He tried to steady them, tried to focus on the familiar rhythm of breakfast, but his mind kept circling back to the same impossible question: how do you apologize for something like this? "Dad, you're making a mess." Maya stood in the doorway, already dressed in her favorite purple hoodie, her dark hair still sleep-tangled. She looked so much like Rachel in the morning light that it hurt. "Sorry, sweet pea. Just a little distracted." She climbed onto the kitchen stool and watched him pour the batter into the pan. "You look like a zombie." "Thanks. That's the look I was going for." "Is it about work?" Ethan flipped the pancake, watching the edges turn golden brown, or, in this case, slightly burnt. "Yeah, just some stuff I need to deal with today." "Is it the anniversary soon?" The question caught him off guard. Maya always remembered. Always kept track of the days leading up to the date her mother died, like she was bracing herself for the impact. No baby. Not for a few more weeks. He slid the pancake onto her plate. This is different. Just regular work stress. She poured syrup in a careful spiral pattern the way Rachel used to do. "You work too much." "I know. Mom used to say that too." Ethan sat down across from her, his own plate untouched. She was right. She usually was. They ate in comfortable silence. Maya swung her legs under the table, humming some song from school. Ethan watched her and felt the weight of everything he stood to lose pressing down on his chest. The job paid for this apartment, for her school, for the little bit of stability they'd managed to claw back after Rachel's death. One stupid text message. That's all it took to put everything at risk. "Dad, yeah, you're staring at me weird." He forced a smile. "Just thinking about how lucky I am." "Gross, you're getting all mushy." But she was grinning syrup on her chin. The drive to Maya's school took them through Pike Place Market, still quiet in the early morning. Fishmongers were setting up for the day, laying out ice beds for salmon that would be tossed through the air in a few hours. Tour buses hadn't arrived yet. It was Seattle at its most honest before the performance began. Ethan pulled up to the curb outside Greenwood Elementary. Maya grabbed her backpack, but before she could hop out, he reached over and pulled her into a tight hug. "Dad, you're squishing me. Sorry. Just love you a lot." She squirmed free, laughing. More than yesterday. It was their thing, their morning ritual. Started when she was 4 and Rachel was still alive. Always more than yesterday. He replied the words automatic but true. That's impossible. That's like infinity plus 1. Exactly. She kissed his cheek and bounded out of the car, backpack bouncing. Ethan watched her disappear through the front doors, surrounded by other kids in bright jackets, their laughter carrying on the damp morning air. He sat there longer than he needed to, watched the crossing guard help a late arrival across the street, watched a mom juggling coffee and a toddler and a forgotten lunchbox. Then he looked at his phone. 7:23 a.m. 37 minutes until his execution. The Chen Media Group building rose 23 stories above Pioneer Square, all glass and steel and expensive architecture. Ethan had walked through those doors every weekday for 3 years. He knew the security guards by name, knew which elevator was fastest, knew exactly how many steps from the lobby to his office on the 14th floor. Today, it felt like walking toward a cliff edge. His hands were clammy on the steering wheel as he pulled into the parking garage. He sat in his car for a moment, tie feeling too tight shirt collar digging into his neck. Through the windshield he could see the other employees arriving. Danny from accounting talking on his phone. Sarah from HR balancing a yoga mat and a green smoothie. Normal people having a normal Thursday morning. Ethan checked his reflection in the rearview mirror. His tie was crooked, dark circles under his eyes. He looked like a man who'd been up all night contemplating career suicide. Because that's exactly what he was. He straightened his tie, grabbed his laptop bag, got out of the car. The elevator ride to the executive floor felt longer than usual. Ethan stood in the back corner watching the numbers climb. 14th floor. His floor, where his office was, where he should get off and pretend today was like any other day. He didn't get off. 20th floor, executive suite. The doors opened onto a world of minimalist Scandinavian design. White walls, light wood, floor-to-ceiling windows that looked out over Elliott Bay. On a clear day, you could see the Olympic Mountains. Today, typical Seattle gray hung over everything like a shroud. Emma Torrey's assistant looked up from her desk. Her expression was carefully neutral, but Ethan caught the flicker of sympathy in her eyes. "She's expecting you," Emma said, quietly. "Good luck." Ethan nodded, throat too dry to speak. Torrey's office occupied the northwest corner glass walls, giving her a view of both the city and the water. Usually, those walls meant transparency. Everyone could see in. But today the blinds were partially drawn, creating shadows. He could see her silhouette, standing at her desk, not sitting. That felt significant somehow. Ethan knocked twice even though the door was open. "Come in. Close the door." Her voice was cool, controlled. The CEO voice, not the person he'd occasionally glimpsed in late-night email exchanges about campaign strategies. He stepped inside and closed the door behind him. Torrey stood behind her standing desk reviewing something on her tablet. She wore a charcoal gray blazer over a white blouse, hair pulled back in a sleek bun, glasses perched on her nose. She looked every inch the woman who'd taken over her father's company 6 months ago and increased revenue by 30%. She also looked nothing like the woman in the burgundy dress, the woman who'd made him forget every professional boundary he'd ever set for himself. She didn't look up immediately. Power move. Ethan knew it intellectually, but it still worked. He stood there awkward, uncertain whether to sit or remain standing, feeling like a student called to the principal's office. Finally, she set down the tablet and removed her glasses. "Sit down, Ethan." He sat. She studied him for a long moment. Her expression revealed nothing. 3 years in business had taught her how to wear a mask that gave away nothing she didn't want seen. "I'm going to ask you a question," she said, and I need you to be completely honest with me. Okay? Do you think you can still do your job effectively? The question wasn't what he expected. He'd prepared for anger, for a formal HR speech about inappropriate workplace behavior, for the humiliating walk back to his desk to pack his things while everyone watched. Yes, good. She slid a manila folder across the desk. Because I need you on the Cascade Coffee campaign. Ethan stared at the folder like it might explode. I don't understand. It's a straightforward brief. National rebrand. They're losing market share to younger competitors. They want fresh, innovative, bold. She sat down now, folding her hands on the desk. I think you're the right person to lead it. You're not firing me. It wasn't a question, but she answered anyway. Should I be? Most people would. I'm not most people, Ethan. She leaned back in her chair, and for just a second something flickered in her eyes. Amusement, maybe, or something else. You're one of the best creative directors I have. Your personal observations, while unprofessionally expressed, don't change that fact. Ethan felt heat crawl up his neck. I am so incredibly sorry. It was completely inappropriate. And I have no excuse except that I'm apparently an idiot who doesn't double-check before hitting send. Noted. The corner of her mouth twitched, almost a smile. Though, for the record, that dress was Alexander McQueen. $800. So, less criminal and more financially questionable. Despite everything, Ethan laughed. It came out strangled and slightly hysterical, but it was a laugh. Tori's expression softened just slightly. The Cascade pitch is in 3 weeks. I need concepts by next Friday. Can you do that? Yes, absolutely. You won't regret this. See that I don't? She picked up her tablet again, a clear dismissal. But then she paused. Ethan, yes, we all make mistakes. What matters is what we do after. She met his eyes. Don't make me regret giving you a second chance. I won't, I promise. He stood, legs slightly unsteady, and made it to the door before she spoke again. And Ethan, maybe stick to texting your actual friends in the future. Yes, ma'am, definitely, absolutely. He escaped into the hallway, closed the door behind him, and leaned against the wall. His heart was hammering so hard he could hear it in his ears. Emma glanced over, one eyebrow raised in question. I still have a job, Ethan managed. I can see that. She gave me the Cascade account. Also not surprising, you're good at what you do. Emma smiled. Even if you're terrible at technology. Ethan made it back to the elevator before his legs started shaking. He rode down to the 14th floor in a daze, replaying the entire conversation, trying to understand what just happened. She hadn't fired him. She'd given him one of the biggest accounts they'd landed all year. Why Danny from accounting intercepted him at his office door. Dude, you're alive. Apparently. Emma texted me that you went up to the executive floor. I figured you were getting canned. So did I. And I got the Cascade campaign instead. Danny whistled low. Seriously? That's huge. I know. So what did she say about the text? Ethan collapsed into his desk chair and opened the Cascade folder. Inside were market research reports, competitor analyses, brand guidelines, months of prep work already done. She said my observations were unprofessionally expressed. That's it. That's it. Man, Tori Chen is ice cold. But that was the thing. Sitting in her office watching her face, Ethan hadn't seen ice. He'd seen something else. Something careful and controlled, yes. But underneath, his phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Coffee's terrible in the executive break room. There's a decent place on 2nd Ave if you need fuel for the campaign. My assistant can show you. T. Ethan stared at the message. Read it 3 times. Then he saved the number in his contacts. 20 floors above, Tori sat alone in her office, staring at the city without really seeing it. She'd done the right thing. Ethan was talented. Firing him over an embarrassing text would have been petty and short-sighted. The company needed people like him, people who actually cared about the work instead of just collecting paychecks. That's what she told herself. The truth, which she wouldn't admit, even in the privacy of her own thoughts, was more complicated. She opened her desk drawer and pulled out a photo. Her father, Michael Chen, standing in front of this very building on opening day 25 years ago. Young, confident, ready to build an empire. He'd built it too. And then a heart attack at 58 had forced early retirement, leaving Tori to inherit a company she'd spent her whole life preparing to run. Except the board didn't see it that way. To them, she was still Michael's daughter. Still the girl who used to do homework in conference rooms. Still unproven. Marcus Donovan, especially. Her father's oldest friend, who'd expected to be named CEO, who smiled at board meetings while undermining her every decision behind closed doors. She couldn't afford mistakes. Couldn't afford to give them ammunition. Getting involved with an employee, even thinking about getting involved with an employee, was exactly the kind of mistake that would end her career before it really started. So why had she kept that text message? Tori looked at her phone. At the screenshot she'd taken before deleting the original. At words that should have offended her but somehow didn't. "My boss is ridiculously hot." She deleted the screenshot, then immediately went to her recently deleted folder and restored it. This was stupid, dangerous, the kind of thing that got CEOs fired and companies sued. But when Ethan had walked into her office this morning, looking terrified and exhausted and genuinely sorry, something in her chest had tightened in a way it hadn't in years. She'd been alone for so long, married to this job, to her father's legacy, to proving she deserved to be here. Romance was a luxury she couldn't afford, especially not with someone who worked for her. Tori's calendar pinged. Board meeting in 30 minutes. She closed the drawer with her father's photo and stood. Straightened her blazer, put her mask back on. The professional one. The one that didn't notice how Ethan's eyes had held hers a second too long. The one that didn't care about accidentally flattering text messages. The one that would keep her safe. But as she gathered her materials for the meeting, her phone buzzed with a response from Ethan. "Thank you for the second chance. I won't waste it." She allowed herself the smallest smile before deleting that message too. Some chances, she was learning, were more dangerous than others. The next 3 weeks blurred into a rhythm of coffee keyboards and deadlines that stretched into the small hours of the morning. Ethan threw himself into the Cascade campaign like a man possessed, partly because he was grateful for the second chance, partly because he needed to prove Tori's faith in him wasn't misplaced, and partly because staying busy meant he didn't have to think about that moment in her office. The way she'd looked at him, the almost smile that had made his chest tighten in ways he hadn't felt since Rachel. His apartment became command central. Sketches covered every surface. Market research reports stacked on the coffee table. Maya would do her homework at the kitchen counter while he worked at the dining table, their comfortable silence broken only by the sound of pencils on paper and the occasional question about fractions or synonyms. "Dad, what's another word for brave, courageous, fearless, bold? What about for someone who does something even though they're scared?" Ethan looked up from his laptop. Maya was chewing on the end of her pencil, waiting. "That's still brave, sweet pea. Being brave doesn't mean you're not afraid. It means you do it anyway." She nodded, satisfied, and went back to her essay. Ethan watched her for a moment longer, then returned to his screen. The Cascade campaign needed to feel authentic. Real people, real moments, not the usual glossy advertising fiction. His phone buzzed, a text from Tori. "How's the creative coming?" It was 11:34 p.m. She was still working too. making progress, still refining the core concept. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Don't burn yourself out. We need you at your best. He stared at the message. It was professional, appropriate. But there was something about the word we that made his pulse quicken. Same to you. When's the last time you left before midnight? The response came quickly. Who says I've left at all? Despite himself, Ethan smiled. There's a 24-hour diner on Capitol Hill. Best coffee in Seattle. If you need fuel. Long pause, then, noted. Get some sleep, Ethan. You too, boss. He set the phone down and tried to focus on the campaign. But his mind kept drifting back to that exchange. The ease of it, the way texting her felt less dangerous than being in the same room where he might do something stupid, like notice how her eyes reflected the city lights through her office windows. Stop it, he told himself. She's your boss. She gave you a second chance. Don't screw it up by developing actual feelings. Too late, whispered a voice that sounded suspiciously like Rachel's. You already have. The call from Maya's school came on a Tuesday afternoon, 2 weeks into the campaign grind. Ethan was in the middle of a design review when his phone rang. Greenwood Elementary flashed on the screen. His stomach dropped. Mr. Parker, this is Principal Morrison. I'm afraid there's been an incident with Maya. 20 minutes later, Ethan was sitting in the principal's office looking at his daughter's tear-stained face. Her knuckles were red. Aiden Westbrook, a boy from her class, sat across from them with an ice pack on his nose. Maya punched him. Principal Morrison said, her tone carefully neutral. During recess. He deserved it. Maya muttered, arms crossed. Maya. Ethan's voice held a warning. He said Mom was dead, and that made me a freak. The room went silent. Ethan felt something hot and sharp twist in his chest. Aiden's mother, a woman in an expensive pantsuit who'd been tapping on her phone, looked up sharply. Aiden, is that true? The boy squirmed. I didn't mean it like that. How exactly did you mean it? Ethan asked quietly. Principal Morrison cleared her throat. Mr. Parker, I understand this is a sensitive subject, but violence isn't the answer regardless of provocation. I know that, and Maya knows that too. He looked at his daughter. Right. Maya nodded miserably, fresh tears spilling down her cheeks. I think we can resolve this with apologies on both sides, the principal continued. Aiden will apologize for his hurtful words. Maya will apologize for the physical response. It was handled quickly after that. Both kids mumbled sorry. Both parents signed incident reports. Aiden's mother left in a huff already on her phone with someone about unacceptable school environments. Ethan held Maya's hand as they walked to the car. She was silent, shoulders hunched, radiating misery. Am I in trouble? She asked when they were finally alone. Yes, but not as much as you think. She looked up at him, confused. What Aiden said was cruel and wrong, but hitting people doesn't fix cruel words. It just gets you suspended and gives the mean kids ammunition. He opened the car door for her. You're better than that, Maya. I don't feel better. Her voice was small. I feel angry all the time, and sad, and I don't know how to make it stop. Ethan's heart cracked. He knelt down to her eye level right there in the school parking lot. I know, baby. I feel that way too sometimes. You do, all the time. Missing your mom doesn't go away. It gets easier to carry, but it's always there. How do you carry it? He thought about that. About the late nights working. About throwing himself into campaigns and deadlines. About Rachel's photograph on his nightstand that he still said goodnight to sometimes. Honestly, I'm still figuring it out. But I know punching people isn't the answer. He tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Mrs. Morrison mentioned you might want to talk to someone. A counselor. someone who helps kids deal with big feelings. Maya's face scrunched up. Like a therapist? Yeah. Does that mean I'm broken? No, sweet pea, it means you're human, and sometimes humans need help carrying heavy things. She considered this. Would you come with me to every single appointment? That evening, after Maya was asleep, Ethan sat on his couch with a beer he wasn't really drinking and stared at the Cascade presentation on his laptop. The pitch was in 3 days. Everything was ready. The concept was strong. The creative was sharp. He should have felt confident. Instead, he felt exhausted. Being a single parent was like running a marathon with no finish line. Every time he thought he had it figured out, something new emerged. Maya's grief, school problems, the constant juggling of work and parenting with no safety net. His phone buzzed. Emma mentioned Maya had a situation at school. Is she okay? Tori, of course, word had gotten back to her. He'd left the office abruptly, citing a family emergency. She punched a kid who said something cruel about her mom. So, been better. Is she suspended? No, just shaken up. The response took longer this time. I remember what that feels like. Being the angry kid. Having feelings too big to fit inside your body. Ethan stared at the message. It was the most personal thing Tori had ever shared with him. You were an angry kid. My mother left when I was 7. Decided being a CEO's wife was too boring. So yeah, I get it. I didn't know that, I'm sorry. Don't be, I turned out mostly functional. Mostly, I'm texting my employee at 9 p.m. about his daughter's school fight. Functional is debatable. Despite everything, Ethan smiled. For what it's worth, Maya liked meeting you at the Cascade kickoff meeting. She said you had cool glasses. High praise from a 9-year-old. The highest. He almost left it there. Professional, appropriate. But something made him add, thank you for checking in. You didn't have to. Yes, I did. Get some rest, Ethan. Big day Friday. He set the phone down and looked at Rachel's photo on the bookshelf. She was laughing and the picture had thrown back alive in a way that made his chest ache. I don't know what I'm doing, he told the photograph. With Maya, with work, with any of it. The photo didn't answer, it never did. But somehow, saying it out loud helped. Friday arrived too quickly and not fast enough. The Chen Media boardroom was sleek glass and polished steel with a view that stretched across Elliott Bay to the Olympic Mountains. Today, those mountains were visible, sharp, and snow-covered against an unusually clear sky. Good omen or bad, Ethan couldn't decide. Cascade Coffee's executive team filled one side of the conference table. Sarah Lynn, their CEO, was a sharp-eyed woman in her 50s who'd built the company from a single Seattle storefront into a regional powerhouse. Beside her sat their marketing director and CFO, both looking skeptical. On the other side sat Chen Media's board members, including Marcus Donovan. Ethan had seen Marcus around the office but never paid much attention. Late 50s, silver hair, expensive suits, the kind of man who radiated old money and older attitudes. Today, Marcus watched him with an expression Ethan couldn't quite read. Assessment, maybe, or calculation. Tori sat at the head of the table, perfectly composed in a navy blazer. She caught Ethan's eye briefly, gave the smallest nod. You've got this. He clicked to the first slide. Cascade Coffee has been a Seattle institution for 30 years, he began. But institutions can become invisible, comfortable, forgettable. Sarah Lynn leaned forward slightly, interested. Your sales numbers show you're losing ground to younger brands, not because your coffee is worse, but because they're telling better stories. He advanced to the next slide. We're not going to tell you to change who you are. We're going to help people remember why they fell in love with you in the first place. The presentation flowed. Market research, competitor analysis, then the creative concept, cascade where every morning starts climbing. The screen filled with images, not models, real people, a nurse starting a pre-dawn shift, a construction worker on a job site, a single parent making breakfast, each one holding Cascade coffee, each one facing their personal summit. "We're targeting the climbers," Ethan explained. "Not the Instagram influencers having artisanal pour-overs at noon. The people who need coffee at 5 a.m. because they've got mountains to move." He showed mock-ups, social media campaigns featuring customer stories, billboard designs, a partnership with local climbing organizations with proceeds going to outdoor education programs for underprivileged kids. Sarah Lynn was smiling now. Her team was taking notes. Then Marcus spoke. "This is too risky." The room shifted. All attention swung to him. "Cascade is a heritage brand," Marcus continued smoothly. "This campaign throws away 30 years of brand equity for some trendy, authentic angle that'll be dated in 6 months. With respect," Ethan said, carefully, "heritage only matters if you're still relevant." "Are you suggesting we abandon our core customer base?" "I'm suggesting we remind them why they became our customer base in the first place, and give the next generation a reason to join them." Marcus's eyes narrowed. "Ms. Chen, I have to say, I'm concerned about the judgment that approved this direction." The air in the room changed. Tori's expression didn't flicker, but Ethan felt the tension ratchet up several notches. "The judgment that grew our revenue 30% in 6 months, Marcus." Her voice was ice-cold, professional, lethal. "The judgment that's made questionable personnel decisions lately." His eyes flicked to Ethan, brief but unmistakable. "Oh, so that's how it was going to be." Tori stood, placing her palms flat on the table. "I think we should let our clients decide." Sarah, the Cascade CEO, had been watching the exchange with sharp interest. Now she smiled. "I love it. It's exactly what we need. Bold, real, different." She looked at her team, who nodded agreement. "When can we start?" The meeting ended with handshakes and congratulations, contract details to be finalized, launch timeline to be determined. Ethan's first major campaign as lead creative approved and moving forward. He should have felt triumphant. Instead, he watched Marcus leave the boardroom already on his phone and felt a cold certainty settle in his stomach. This wasn't over. Whatever that pointed comment had been about it was just the opening salvo. "Ethan." He turned. Tori stood by the windows, backlit by mountain light. "Walk with me." They left the boardroom together, heading toward the executive break area. It was empty at this hour, just expensive coffee machines and a view that cost more per square foot than most people's apartments. "That was good work," Tori said. Sarah loved it, but Marcus didn't. Marcus doesn't love anything except his own opinions. She poured herself coffee from the French press. "Don't let him get in your head." "Is it true about questionable personnel decisions?" Tori's hand stilled on the coffee pot. "He's referring to me not firing you after the text incident." "He knows about that. Marcus makes it his business to know everything." She filled a second cup, handed it to Ethan. "He's been my father's friend for 30 years. He expected to be named CEO when Dad retired. My existence as a viable successor has been a thorn in his side since I was old enough to sit in on board meetings. So this is about you, not me. Everything is about me when it comes to Marcus." She took a sip of coffee, grimaced slightly. "But yes, you're now on his radar, because I gave you a high-profile campaign. Because you delivered. Because that threatens his narrative that I'm an inexperienced nepotism hire who will run the company into the ground." Ethan processed this. Office politics had never been his strength. He was creative, not corporate, but even he could see the dangerous game being played here. What does he want? My job, my father's legacy, control. Tori set down her cup. What he doesn't understand is that I'm not going anywhere. The certainty in her voice was absolute. This was the woman who'd taken over a company at 32 and doubled its value, who worked 80-hour weeks and never complained, who wore armor so well that most people didn't realize it was armor at all. For what it's worth, Ethan said, I think you're a hell of a CEO. She looked at him, then really looked at him, and something passed between them. Something that had nothing to do with campaigns, or coffee, or professional hierarchies. Thank you, she said quietly. They stood there too close, the Seattle skyline spread out behind them like a promise. Ethan's phone buzzed, shattering the moment. A text from Maya's school. Reminder about parent-teacher conferences next week. I should get back to work, he said, stepping away, creating distance, remembering boundaries. Ethan, wait. He turned. Tori looked uncertain for the first time since he'd met her, like she was about to step off a cliff and wasn't sure there was ground on the other side. We should celebrate. The Cascade win, it's a big deal. That's not necessary. Dinner tomorrow night. She said it quickly before she could change her mind. Tori, I don't think that's a good idea. Not after what Marcus said. It's just dinner, to thank you for your work. Is that what it is? The question hung between them. Honest, dangerous. I have Maya, he said, giving her an out. Giving them both an out. Bring her. Ethan blinked. You want to have dinner with my 9-year-old daughter? I liked her. That day she came by the office to drop off your lunch. She's funny, smart. Tori's armor cracked just slightly. And I don't get out much. It would be nice to have dinner with people who aren't trying to dissect my leadership capabilities. This is crossing a line. I know. Marcus will use it against you. Probably. Then why? Tori met his eyes. Because I'm tired of letting other people's opinions dictate my life. Because you did great work and deserve to be recognized. And because... She paused. Because I want to. It was the most honest thing she'd ever said to him. Ethan thought about Marcus's warning, about professional boundaries, about all the very good reasons this was a terrible idea. Then he thought about Maya asking why he never smiled anymore, about Rachel's handwriting in her journal. Life is too short for regrets, about Tori standing in front of him vulnerable in a way that probably terrified her. Okay, he heard himself say. But fair warning, Maya's going to interrogate you. She's suspicious of new people. I can handle a 9-year-old's interrogation. Can you handle her opinions about your fashion choices, because she will absolutely tell you if she doesn't like your outfit? Tori almost smiled. I'll risk it. They made plans. Saturday night. A restaurant in Queen Anne that was upscale enough to celebrate but casual enough for a kid. Neutral ground. As Ethan walked back to his office, Danny intercepted him in the hallway. Dude, did you just agree to have dinner with Tori Chen? How did you possibly hear that already? Emma texted me. She sees everything. Danny lowered his voice. You know, Marcus is going to lose his mind, right? It's just dinner. Professional dinner, to celebrate the Cascade campaign. With your daughter, she asked me to bring Maya. Danny whistled low. Man, that's either really smart or really stupid. Haven't decided which yet. Ethan hadn't decided either. All he knew was that tomorrow night he was going to have dinner with his boss and his daughter. And somewhere along the way, the careful walls he'd built around his heart since Rachel died were starting to crack. Whether that was a good thing or a disaster waiting to happen, only time would tell. Saturday arrived with the kind of crisp autumn evening that made Seattle feel like a postcard. The leaves on the trees lining Queen Anne Avenue had turned gold and crimson, catching the last of the sunset, like they were on fire. Ethan stood in front of his bathroom mirror, adjusting his tie for the third time. Behind him, Maya sat on the edge of the bathtub, watching with the critical eye of a fashion consultant. "You look nervous," she observed. "I'm not nervous. Your tie is crooked, again." He loosened it, started over. His hands were unsteady. "It's just dinner. With your boss. To celebrate a work thing. On a Saturday night." Ethan met his daughter's eyes in the mirror. "When did you get so observant? I'm 9, not blind." Maya swung her legs, kicking the cabinet gently. "Is this a date?" "No, absolutely not. It's a professional dinner to thank me for good work on a campaign that you're bringing me to, because she invited you." "Why would she invite me to a professional work dinner?" Ethan gave up on the tie and turned to face her. "I don't know, Maya. Maybe she wanted to meet you. Is that okay?" Maya considered this seriously. She was wearing her favorite yellow dress, the one with sunflowers that Rachel had bought her 2 birthdays ago. It was getting too small, the hem riding up higher than it should, but Maya refused to give it up. "I guess," she said finally. "But if she's mean, we're leaving." "Deal. And if the food is gross, I'm ordering pizza." "The food won't be gross, it's careless." Maya's eyes widened. "The fancy place with the piano, that's the one." "Okay, now I'm nervous." Ethan knelt down to her level, tucked a strand of dark hair behind her ear. "You'll be great. Just be yourself. That's all anyone needs you to be." "What if myself is weird? Then you'll fit right in. I'm pretty weird too." She giggled, which was the sound Ethan needed to hear. That laugh that reminded him Rachel was still alive in their daughter in moments like this. They took an Uber to Queen Anne. Maya pressed against the window, watching the city lights blur past. Careless sat perched on a hillside, all mid-century modern elegance and views that stretched across Lake Union to the downtown skyline. The hostess greeted them with the kind of warm professionalism that came from years of making nervous diners feel welcome. "Mr. Parker, Ms. Chen is already here. Right this way." They followed her through the dining room, past tables where anniversary celebrations and business dinners unfolded in soft lighting and quiet conversation. The piano player was working through something, classical notes drifting through the space like water. Tori sat at a corner table by the windows, the city spread out behind her like she'd arranged it specifically for this moment. She wore a deep green dress, simple but elegant, her hair down for once instead of pulled back in that severe bun. She looked up as they approached, and something in her expression shifted, softened. "Ethan? Maya." She stood, and Ethan caught the slightest hesitation before she extended her hand to Maya. "Thank you for coming." Maya shook her hand solemnly, sizing her up with the kind of thorough assessment only children could get away with. "You have cool glasses," Maya announced. Tori smiled, genuine and surprised. "Thank you. I have about 6 pairs. Occupational hazard of staring at screens all day." "Dad says you work too much." "Maya," Ethan warned, mortified. But Tori laughed. "He's probably right. I could say the same about him." They settled into their seats. A waiter appeared with menus and water, reciting specials with practiced ease. Maya studied her menu with intense concentration, lips moving as she read. "They have mac and cheese," she whispered to Ethan. "Fancy mac and cheese." "You can order whatever you want," Tori said. "This is a celebration." "What are we celebrating?" "Your dad did amazing work on a very important project. He made the company a lot of money and made me look smart for hiring him." Maya processed this. "So you're his boss?" "I am." "And you're having dinner with us because he did good work." "That's right." Do you always have dinner with people who do good work? Tori met Maya's eyes, and Ethan saw something pass between them. Some kind of understanding that went beyond words. No, Tori said honestly. I don't. Then why us? Because your dad is special, and because I don't get out much. Sometimes it's nice to have dinner with people who aren't trying to impress you or take something from you. Maya nodded slowly like this made sense. Okay, but I'm ordering dessert. I would be disappointed if you didn't. The waiter returned, and they ordered. Maya went with the mac and cheese and made Tori promise to try a bite. Ethan ordered salmon he probably wouldn't taste because his nerves were too high. Tori chose something with scallops and admitted she usually just ate takeout at her desk. That's sad, Maya declared. Food tastes better when you're not working. Does it? Obviously. Dad and I have a rule. No phones at dinner, no computers, just food and talking. Tori glanced at Ethan, eyebrow raised. It was Rachel's rule, he explained quietly. My wife. We kept it after she died. That's a good rule. Tori placed her phone face down on the table, a small gesture that somehow felt significant. What do you talk about? School stuff, friend drama. Sometimes Dad tells me about work, but he makes it less boring than it probably is. I'm sure it's fascinating, Tori said dryly. He drew me pictures of the Cascade campaign. There was a lady climbing a mountain with coffee. I liked her. That's actually in the final presentation. Your dad's very talented. Maya beamed with pride, and Ethan felt something warm and painful expand in his chest. This, he realized. This was what he'd been missing. Someone else who saw Maya's light and reflected it back. Someone who made her feel special. The food arrived and conversation flowed easier than Ethan expected. Tori asked Maya about school, about her friends, about what she wanted to be when she grew up. A veterinarian, Maya said around a mouthful of mac and cheese. Or maybe a video game designer. I haven't decided. Those are very different careers. I like animals and computers. Why can't I do both? You absolutely can. Some of the smartest people I know do completely unrelated things. Tori speared a scallop thoughtfully. I studied literature in college. Everyone thought I'd become a professor or an editor. Instead, I run a media company. Do you like it? The question was so direct, so genuinely curious that Tori paused. Most days, she said finally. It's hard, stressful. People question my decisions constantly. But when we do good work, when we help clients succeed, when someone like your dad creates something brilliant, yeah, I like it. What about the other days? The other days I eat a lot of ice cream and remind myself why I'm doing this. What flavor? Salted caramel. Maya wrinkled her nose. That's fancy. I like cookie dough. Classic choice, respect. They talked through dinner, the conversation weaving between light and serious, silly and sincere. Tori shared a story about being the awkward kid in school, the one who read books during recess and had exactly 0 friends until high school. My mom left when I was 7, she said, and Ethan heard the carefully controlled emotion underneath. She decided being married to a workaholic wasn't for her. So my dad raised me. Brought me to the office when he couldn't find a sitter. Let me do homework in conference rooms. My mom died, Maya said quietly. 3 years ago. Cancer. I know. Your dad told me. I'm very sorry. Everyone always says sorry, but it doesn't bring her back. Tori set down her fork, gave Maya her full attention. No, it doesn't. But it means people care, that they wish things were different. Sometimes that's all we can offer each other. Maya considered this. Did you miss your mom, even though she left every day for a long time? Tori's voice was gentle. Eventually, I got angry instead. Decided I didn't need her, that I was fine on my own. Were you? I thought I was. But being fine on your own and being happy are different things. The honesty of it hung in the air between them. Ethan watched his daughter process this, watched Tori maintain eye contact with a 9-year-old discussing things most adults avoided. I don't want to be fine on my own, Maya said. I want my dad to be happy again. Ethan's throat tightened. I am happy, sweet pea. You work all the time, and you forget to eat, and sometimes I hear you talking to Mom's picture at night. God, kids saw everything. Maya, he started, but Tori interrupted gently. Your dad loves you very much. Sometimes when people love someone who's gone, they talk to them. It's not sad, it's beautiful. Maya looked at Tori with something like wonder. You're not what I expected. What did you expect? Someone scary. Dad's bosses are usually scary. Tori smiled. I can be scary. Ask anyone at the office. But not tonight. Not tonight. They ordered dessert. Maya got chocolate lava cake and made both adults try a bite. Tori ordered creme brulee and let Maya crack the sugar crust with her spoon. Ethan got coffee he didn't need and watched two of the most important people in his life bond over burned sugar and chocolate. When Maya excused herself to use the restroom, Ethan and Tori were left alone for the first time all evening. Thank you, he said quietly, for this, for being so good with her. She's wonderful, Ethan. You're raising an incredible human. Some days I have no idea what I'm doing. That's how you know you're doing it right, caring enough to worry. Their eyes met across the table. Held. Why are we really here, Tori? She didn't pretend to misunderstand. Because I'm tired of eating alone. Because when I'm at the office I have to be the CEO. Perfect, controlled, never uncertain, and sometimes... She paused, vulnerable in a way that probably terrified her. Sometimes I just want to be a person. You're a person to me. Am I? The question was loaded with everything they weren't saying. Everything that had been building since that first text message. Before Ethan could answer, Maya returned, announcing she was officially too full to move. They paid the check. Tori insisted waving off Ethan's protests. Company expense, Cascade celebration. Outside, the night had turned cold, that particular Seattle chill that cut through jackets and reminded you winter was coming. Maya skipped ahead toward the valet station, her yellow dress bright against the darkness. She's lucky to have you, Tori said, watching her. Some days I'm not sure I'm enough. You are. She touched his arm, brief but electric. More than enough. Ethan looked at her. Really looked at her. At the woman who ran a multi-million-dollar company but admitted she ate too much takeout. Who wore armor at work but let a 9-year-old see her vulnerability. Who was standing in the cold, watching his daughter with an expression that made his heart crack open. Good night, Tori. Good night. She stayed on the curb as their Uber pulled away, a solitary figure backlit by restaurant lights. Ethan watched through the rear window until she was just a silhouette, then nothing at all. I like her, Maya announced, breaking the silence. Yeah, she's nice, and she didn't treat me like a baby. She is nice. Do you like her? Dangerous territory. She's my boss, sweet pea. That's not what I asked. Ethan looked at his too perceptive daughter. Yeah, I like her. Good. You should smile more, like you did tonight. He pulled her close, kissed the top of her head. Didn't trust himself to speak. What Ethan didn't know, what he couldn't have known, was that Marcus Donovan had been at Canlis that night. 3 tables over, hidden behind a column, watching every moment. Marcus had followed them there. Waited, watched, taken photos on his phone. documented every smile, every moment of connection, every second that could be twisted into something unprofessional. Now, sitting in his car in the parking garage, he scrolled through the images. Tori leaning across the table, Ethan's hand near hers, the child between them making them look like a family. Perfect. He composed an email to select board members. Subject line: concerns regarding CEO judgment and professional boundaries. Attached the photos. Added a few carefully worded paragraphs about conflicts of interest, about how Tori's personal feelings were compromising her professional decisions, about how giving a major campaign to an employee she was clearly involved with was exactly the kind of nepotism that would destroy the company. He didn't mention that the campaign had been successful, didn't mention that Cascade's CEO had loved it, didn't mention anything that would undermine his narrative. Marcus hit send and smiled. Monday morning, Ethan arrived at the office to find it buzzing with a different kind of energy. People were whispering. Conversations stopped when he walked past. Danny caught his eye from across the open workspace and made a subtle cutting motion across his throat. Not good. Emma intercepted him before he could reach his office. Emergency board meeting started 20 minutes ago. About what? Her expression was grim. Tori. And you. Ethan's stomach dropped. What? Marcus sent photos to the board from Saturday night at the restaurant. We were celebrating the Cascade win. She invited me. She invited Maya. I know. But Marcus is spinning it differently. Professional impropriety, conflict of interest. He's saying she gave you the campaign because you're... Emma paused, choosing her words carefully. Involved. We're not involved. It was dinner. With your daughter, which actually makes it look worse to them, more serious. Ethan felt reality tilting sideways. Where's Tori? In the boardroom, fighting for her job. He took the stairs to the 20th floor, too impatient for elevators. Burst through the stairwell door to find the executive suite in controlled chaos. Other board members were arriving. Assistants were rushing around with coffee and files. Through the glass walls of the boardroom he could see them. Tori at the head of the table, spine-straight expression calm. Marcus, standing, gesturing clearly in the middle of some speech. Ethan couldn't hear the words, but he could see the tension. Could see Tori's white-knuckled grip on the table edge. Could see other board members looking uncomfortable, uncertain, swayed by whatever poison Marcus was pouring in their ears. This was his fault. His stupid text message. His inability to maintain professional distance. His selfishness in saying yes to dinner when he knew it was a bad idea, and now Tori was paying the price. He started toward the boardroom, but Emma caught his arm. Don't. You'll only make it worse. I have to do something. You have to let her handle this. Going in there will just prove Marcus's point. Ethan watched through the glass as Tori defended herself. As Marcus attacked. As her career, her father's legacy, everything she'd worked for hung in the balance. Because of him. His phone rang, Maya's school. Again. Mr. Parker, it's Principal Morrison. I'm afraid Maya's had another incident. Of course. Of course, this was all happening at once. What kind of incident? She had a panic attack during class. She's asking for her mother. The school counselor is with her now, but she's very distressed. We think you should come get her. Ethan looked at the boardroom, at Tori fighting alone, at the disaster he'd helped create. Then he looked at his phone, at his daughter who needed him. I'll be there in 20 minutes. He took the stairs down 2 at a time, leaving the executive floor behind, leaving Tori to face the consequences of something they'd both chosen. In the parking garage, he sat in his car with his head against the steering wheel and let himself feel the full weight of it all. The impossible choices, the guilt, the fear. His phone buzzed, a text from Tori. Is Maya okay? Emma told me the school called. Even now, in the middle of fighting for her career, she was thinking about his daughter. Ethan's hands shook as he typed back. Panic attack. Going to get her now. I'm so sorry. This is my fault. Don't, not your fault. Handle your daughter. I'll handle this. Let me help. You can't, not now, just take care of Maya. He wanted to argue, wanted to storm back upstairs and tell the board that none of this was what Marcus was making it seem. That Tori was brilliant and ethical and the best thing that had ever happened to that company. But Maya needed him. And maybe Emma was right. Maybe he'd only make things worse. Ethan started the car and drove toward Greenwood Elementary, leaving Tori alone to fight a battle he'd helped create. At the school, he found Maya in the nurse's office, curled in a ball on the vinyl bed, sobbing so hard she couldn't breathe. The school counselor, a kind-faced woman named Dr. Reed, sat beside her, rubbing her back in slow circles. "I want Mom," Maya was saying over and over. "I want my mom. Why can't I have my mom?" Ethan's heart shattered. He knelt beside the bed, pulled his daughter into his arms. She clung to him, small and broken and grieving in a way that couldn't be fixed with pancakes or movie nights or any of the bandages he'd tried to apply over the years. "I know, baby, I know. Make it stop, Daddy. Make it stop hurting." "I can't. I wish I could, but I can't." She cried harder, and Ethan held her helpless. Dr. Reed excused herself quietly, giving them privacy. "The anniversary is next week," Maya said between sobs. 3 years, and it still hurts like yesterday. It always will. Missing her doesn't go away. I don't want to miss her. I want her back. Me too, sweet pea, every single day. They sat there on the nurse's office bed while Maya's sobs slowly quieted to hiccups, then to shaky breathing, then to exhausted silence. Outside, school continued. Kids laughed. Teachers taught. The world kept turning while his daughter fell apart. Ethan's phone buzzed in his pocket. Multiple texts. Probably work. Probably Tori. He ignored them all. Right now, nothing mattered except the child in his arms and getting her through this moment. Everything else, the job, the board meeting, the mess with Marcus, could wait. Maya fell asleep eventually, worn out from crying. Ethan carried her to the car, buckled her in carefully. Drove home through afternoon traffic while she slept in the passenger seat, tear tracks dried on her cheeks. At home, he settled her on the couch with her favorite blanket and finally checked his phone. 7 missed calls, 12 texts. Most were from work. Danny asking if he was okay. Emma with updates. Other colleagues expressing concern or confusion. But one text stood out. From Tori, sent an hour ago. Board meeting adjourned. Suspended pending investigation. Marcus made his move. Don't blame yourself. This was always going to happen. Take care of your daughter. That's what matters. Ethan read it 3 times, trying to understand. Suspended. Tori had been suspended. Because of him. Because of dinner. Because he couldn't keep his professional and personal lives separate. He looked at Maya, sleeping on the couch. Looked at Rachel's photo on the shelf. Looked at his phone with Tori's message. Every choice had consequences. Every action rippled outward in ways you couldn't predict or control. He'd thought he was being careful. Thought he could manage the attraction. Maintain boundaries. Keep everyone safe. He'd been wrong. And now, the 2 women who'd somehow become the center of his world, his daughter and his boss, were both paying the price. The next 72 hours passed in a blur of gray Seattle rain and sleepless nights. Maya stayed home from school. Dr. Reed had recommended it, and Ethan wasn't about to argue. His daughter needed time to process, to grieve, to simply exist without the pressure of pretending she was okay. They built blanket forts in the living room, watched movies they'd seen 100 times, made Rachel's favorite chocolate chip cookies from the recipe card still stained with her handwriting. Small rituals of remembering that somehow made the hurt more bearable. Ethan took emergency family leave from work. Danny kept him updated via text. The office was in chaos. Marcus had called another board meeting for Thursday morning. Formal vote of no confidence in Tori's leadership. She'd been barred from the building pending the investigation. "It's bad, man," Danny texted. "Marcus is pushing hard. Says she's been making emotional decisions instead of business ones. That giving you the Cascade campaign was favoritism, not merit." Ethan stared at the message, rage burning through his exhaustion. The Cascade campaign had been a success. Sarah Lynn's team was already implementing the strategy. Early metrics showed increased engagement across all demographics. It was good work, great work, but Marcus didn't care about that. He cared about winning. Wednesday night, after Maya finally fell asleep, Ethan sat at his laptop and did something he should have done weeks ago. He dug into Marcus Donovan's digital footprint. Email patterns, meeting schedules, communication logs. He had limited access, but what he could see raised questions. Why was Marcus emailing Cascade's competitors during the pitch period? Why were there gaps in his calendar that didn't align with any logged meetings? Ethan wasn't a detective. He was a creative director who was good with design software and mediocre at office politics. But he knew enough to recognize patterns that didn't make sense. At 2 a.m., he sent an email to Sarah Lynn at Cascade Coffee. Kept it brief and professional. "Sarah, quick question about the campaign process. Did your team experience any information leaks during our pitch period? Any competitors seemed to know details they shouldn't have. Just doing some internal review. Thanks, Ethan." He hit send and closed his laptop, not expecting a response. The reply came at 6:47 a.m. "Ethan, funny you should ask. Our IT flagged some unusual activity around that time. External IP addresses accessing our shared campaign folders. We traced it back but weren't sure how to proceed without proof. Do you have information? Call me. Sarah." Ethan's heart started racing. He called. Sarah answered on the second ring. "I need your IT team to send me everything they have," Ethan said. "Every log, every trace, every suspicious access point." "Why, what's going on?" "Marcus Donovan is trying to take down my CEO. If I'm right, he's been sabotaging her from the beginning. I just need proof. Give me an hour." The files arrived at 8:23 a.m. Ethan opened them and there it was. Digital fingerprints leading straight back to Chen Media's network. Specific IP addresses, timestamps, email headers showing Marcus's corporate account accessing competitor files and forwarding campaign details to Execubrew Coffee Cascade's main rival. He'd been leaking their strategy, actively trying to make Tori's leadership look incompetent by ensuring Chen Media's pitches got undercut. The Cascade campaign had succeeded despite Marcus's sabotage, which probably enraged him even more. Ethan called Danny. "I need you to do something that might get you fired." "I'm listening." "Pull Marcus Donovan's email logs for the last 6 months. Communications with external addresses, meeting invitations, anything that shows pattern of contact with competitors." "Dude, that's way above my clearance level." "I know, I'm sorry, but Tori's board meeting is tomorrow morning, and if we don't have ammunition, she's done." Silence on the other end. Then, "Give me 2 hours. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. If this blows up, we're both unemployed." Ethan spent the rest of a Wednesday organizing evidence, creating a timeline, building a case that even the most skeptical board member couldn't ignore. Maya wandered into the dining room around noon, sleep-rumpled and carrying her favorite stuffed elephant. Why are you doing work? You said you took time off. I did. This is different. Different how? Ethan looked at his daughter. Thought about lying, decided on honesty. Remembered Tori. From dinner, the nice lady with the cool glasses. Yeah, someone at work is trying to get her fired. And it's not fair, so I'm trying to help. Maya climbed onto the chair beside him, peering at his laptop screen. Is it because of us? Because we had dinner? Partly, but mostly because there's a man who wants her job and doesn't care who he hurts to get it. That's mean. Very mean. Are you going to stop him? I'm going to try. Maya was quiet for a moment thinking. Then she said, Mom always said you should stand up for people who can't stand up for themselves. Ethan's throat tightened. She did say that. Tori's standing up, but she probably needs help. Everyone needs help sometimes. Out of the mouths of 9-year-olds. You're right, she does need help. Then help her dad. Don't let the mean guy win. Thursday morning arrived, cold and gray rain hammering against the windows like it was personally angry at Seattle. Ethan dropped Maya at her grandmother's house. Rachel's mother, Patricia, took one look at his face and pulled him into a hug. You look like hell. I feel like it too. What's happening, he told her. About the campaign. About Marcus. About Tori and the board meeting and the evidence he'd compiled. About risking his job to do the right thing. Patricia listened, then pressed something into his hand. Rachel's old journal, the one she'd kept during her cancer treatment. Page 47, Patricia said. Ethan opened it, found Rachel's handwriting shaky from chemo but still determinedly cheerful. Life is too short for regrets. Love fiercely. Fight for what matters. Don't let fear make your choices. He read it 3 times. She'd be proud of you, Patricia said quietly. For standing up, for caring about someone again. I don't know if I'm caring or just being stupid. Sometimes they're the same thing. Go. Do what you need to do. The Chen Media boardroom was exactly as he remembered. Glass walls, expensive furniture, view of the mountains that today were hidden behind storm clouds. The board members were already assembled, 8 of them, including Marcus at the head of the table where Tori usually sat. She was conspicuously absent, barred from her own company's meeting. Ethan walked in without invitation, carrying a folder thick with evidence. Marcus looked up, surprise flashing across his face before settling into irritation. Mr. Parker, this is a closed board meeting. You have no standing here. I have information relevant to this discussion. Unless you're here to admit to an inappropriate relationship with Ms. Chen, I don't see how. Actually, I'm here to discuss your inappropriate relationships with Chen Media's competitors. That got everyone's attention. Ethan moved around the table, distributing copies of his evidence packet to each board member. These are email records showing Marcus Donovan communicated with Execu Brew Coffee during our Cascade campaign, sharing strategy, leaking proprietary information, actively sabotaging our client work. Gasps rippled around the table. Board members started flipping through pages, expressions shifting from skeptical to shocked. This is preposterous, Marcus sputtered, standing. Where did you get this? From Cascade's IT team. They detected the breach weeks ago, traced it back to your corporate account. These could be fabricated. They're time-stamped, cross-referenced with server logs. Ethan placed another document on the table. Here's the IP trace. Here's the email metadata. Here's 6 months of you systematically undermining Tori Chen's leadership by making sure our pitches failed. Board member Helen Rodriguez, a sharp-eyed woman in her 60s, looked up from the documents. Marcus, these look authentic. Of course they look authentic. He's trying to distract from the real issue. Ms. Chen gave him a major campaign after he sent her inappropriate messages. She's been showing him preferential treatment. The campaign succeeded, Ethan said, flatly. Cascade loved it. We signed a $2 million contract. That's not preferential treatment. That's good business. You're sleeping with her. The accusation hung in the air, crude and desperate. I'm not sleeping with her. Ethan replied calmly. We had one dinner, professional dinner, to celebrate the Cascade win. She invited my daughter because she's a kind person who understands work-life balance. That's it. You expect us to believe... I expect you to look at the evidence in front of you instead of listening to a man who's been sabotaging this company for half a year because he's bitter about not getting promoted. Marcus's face was turning red. I have served this company for 30 years and spent the last 6 months trying to destroy it because Michael Chen chose his daughter over you. Another board member, James Park, cleared his throat. These emails are damning Marcus. You were in contact with Execubrew during the Cascade pitch period, networking, normal business relationships. You forwarded them our campaign strategy, Helen said, still reading, 3 days before the pitch, with a note that says, "This is what Chen Media is proposing. Thought you should know. I can explain, then explain." Tori's voice cut through the room like a knife. Everyone turned. She stood in the doorway flanked by security. Still barred from the building technically, but here anyway. "Ms. Chen," Marcus started, "you're not allowed. My father built this company from nothing." Tori interrupted, walking in with the kind of controlled fury that made everyone sit straighter. "He trusted you, mentored you, gave you opportunities you hadn't earned. And this is how you repay him, by trying to destroy everything he built. I'm trying to save it from your incompetence." "My incompetence," she laughed, sharp and bitter. "Revenue is up 30%. Client retention is at an all-time high. We just landed the biggest campaign of the year. What exactly am I doing wrong, Marcus? Besides being a woman, besides being young, besides not being you, you're letting personal feelings compromise professional judgment. The only person whose feelings are compromising anything is you." She turned to the board. "I gave Ethan Parker the Cascade campaign because he's brilliant, because his work is innovative and fresh and exactly what our clients need. Not because of any personal relationship, but because it was the right business decision, as evidenced by the fact that Cascade signed the contract and is already implementing the strategy." Helen Rodriguez nodded slowly. "The numbers support that. But the dinner," Marcus tried. "Was dinner," Tori said firmly, "between adults, after business hours, celebrating a professional success, unless you're suggesting employees can never socialize with management, in which case every company golf outing and team dinner in history is now problematic." James Park set down the evidence packet. "Marcus, I think you need to step out while we discuss this. You can't be serious. You leaked client information to competitors. That's grounds for immediate termination, never mind suspension. This is ridiculous. I'm trying to save you from making a mistake. The only mistake here is believing your version of events." Helen stood. "Security, please escort Mr. Donovan from the building." Marcus's expression went from outrage to panic. "You're making a massive error. When this company fails under her leadership, don't say I didn't warn you." "Get out, Marcus." Tori's voice was ice cold. "You're done here." Security flanked him. Marcus looked around the table, searching for allies, finding none. His eyes landed on Ethan with pure hatred. "You destroyed your career for her. Hope she's worth it." "She is," Ethan said simply. Marcus was escorted out, still protesting. The boardroom door closed behind him with a decisive click. Silence filled the space, all eyes on Tori. "I apologize," she said quietly, "for the drama, for the distraction. for any concern my actions may have caused. You have nothing to apologize for, Helen said. Marcus was toxic. We should have seen it sooner. Still, I let personal feelings cloud my judgment. Not with the campaign, that was purely business. But with the dinner, I should have been more careful. You had dinner with an employee to celebrate a success, James said. That's not inappropriate. It's called being human. Tori's composure cracked just slightly. Thank you. We owe you a vote, Helen continued. Official reinstatement, full confidence. All in favor. 8 hands raised. Unanimous. Motion carries. Ms. Chen, welcome back. Mr. Parker, thank you for bringing this to our attention. You saved this company from a costly legal battle and possible criminal charges against a board member. Ethan nodded, not trusting his voice. The board members filed out already on phones, already moving into damage control mode. Helen paused at the door. For what it's worth, you two are terrible at hiding your feelings. But feelings aren't fireable offenses. Just file the relationship disclosure with HR and stop giving people ammunition. She smiled slightly. And congratulations on Cascade. It really is brilliant work. Then she was gone, leaving Ethan and Tori alone in the boardroom. For a long moment, neither spoke. They just stood there on opposite sides of the table, the weight of everything that had just happened settling over them like rain. You had that evidence for how long? Tori asked finally. Got it yesterday. Spent all night organizing it. Why didn't you tell me? Because you would have tried to protect me, kept me out of it, handled it yourself. Damn right I would have. I know. That's who you are. You carry everything alone. He moved around the table toward her, but you don't have to. Not anymore. Ethan, her voice held a warning. We work together. There are rules. Screw the rules, I'm tired of pretending. Pretending what? That I don't think about you constantly. That dinner was just professional courtesy. That I'm not falling in love with you. The words hung between them, honest and terrifying. Tori's carefully constructed mask finally shattered. Tears spilled down her cheeks, and she didn't bother wiping them away. You can't just say that. Why not? Because I'm your boss. Because it's complicated. Because you feel it too. She turned away, shoulders shaking. I haven't let myself care about anyone in years. It's easier that way, safer. Easier isn't better. What about Maya? She's been through so much. I can't be another person who disappoints her. Then don't disappoint her. Ethan closed the distance between them. She asked me last night if you were going to be around, if she'd get to see you again. She likes you, Tori, really likes you. What if I'm not enough? What if I can't be what she needs? You already are. He turned her gently to face him. You don't have to be Rachel. You just have to be you. That's more than enough. This is a terrible idea. Probably. HR will have a field day. I'll fill out all the forms. The board will talk. Let them talk. Tori looked up at him, tears still streaming. I'm scared. Me too. I don't know how to do this. How to be with someone. How to be part of a family. Neither do I. We'll figure it out together. She laughed through her tears. Together? That's a terrifying word. Is that a yes to what you haven't actually asked me anything? Would you like to have dinner with Maya and me, not as my boss, not as a professional courtesy, as Tori, the woman who makes me laugh, who's brilliant and kind and scared of being human, as someone I want to get to know outside of boardrooms and campaigns? That's not really a question either. Tori Chen, will you go on a date with me? She smiled, genuine and unguarded. Yes, I'd like that, very much. He kissed her, then soft and careful in the middle of the boardroom with rain hammering against the windows. She kissed him back, her hands fisting in his shirt, holding on like he was the only solid thing in a world that had been shifting under her feet for months. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Tori rested her forehead against his. "We have to tell HR." "I know." "And establish boundaries at work." "Absolutely. And take things slow, for Maya's sake. Whatever you need." And she pulled back slightly, looking at him seriously. "I've never done this before. The relationship thing. I'll probably be terrible at it. I've been a widower, raising a kid alone for 3 years while pretending I had it all together. I'm not exactly relationship expert of the year. What a pair we make. The best kind?" They stood there in the aftermath of the storm, holding each other while outside the rain finally started to ease and a sliver of sunlight broke through the clouds. 2 weeks later, after forms were filed and HR meetings were survived and office gossip had run its course, Ethan and Tori had their first official date. No Maya this time. Just the two of them at a quiet restaurant in Fremont, sharing food and stories, and the kind of easy conversation that came from already knowing each other's worst moments. "Danny asked me if you're my boss or my girlfriend," Ethan said over dessert. "What did you tell him? That you're both?" And he said that's either the best decision I've ever made or a disaster waiting to happen. "Which do you think? Ask me in 5 years." Tori smiled, stole a bite of his chocolate cake. 5 years. That's optimistic. I'm an optimist. "Since when? Since you didn't fire me for that text message." She laughed, the sound bright and free. "That text message, the beginning of all this. Worst mistake I ever made. Or the best. Definitely the best." They left the restaurant hand in hand, stepping out into a Seattle night that for once wasn't raining. Stars were visible, rare and precious, and the city lights reflected off Elliott Bay like scattered diamonds. "I should probably tell you something," Tori said as they walked. "What? That burgundy dress? The one you mentioned in the text? Yeah, I wore it on purpose. Was hoping you'd notice." Ethan stopped walking. "You're telling me this was all an elaborate plan? Maybe. Or maybe I just liked the way you looked at me during meetings, like I was a person instead of just a CEO. You are a person, a brilliant, complicated, occasionally terrifying person. Occasionally, usually." She kissed him under the streetlights, and Ethan felt something he hadn't felt in 3 years. Not just happiness, but hope. The kind that came from believing the future could be good again. Different from what he'd planned, different from what he'd lost, but good nonetheless. They were messengers of second chances, of accidental texts leading to intentional choices, of walls coming down and hearts opening up despite every logical reason to stay safe and separate. And as they drove through Seattle's quiet streets toward a future neither could have predicted, Ethan thought about Rachel's words in her journal. Life is too short for regrets. She'd been right, as always. 3 months passed in a rhythm that felt both new and inevitable. Tori became a constant presence in their lives. Not overwhelming, not trying to replace anything, just there. Showing up at Maya's soccer games with a thermos of hot chocolate. Teaching Ethan how to actually use the advanced features on his design software. Sitting at their kitchen counter on Sunday mornings arguing with Maya about whether pancakes needed blueberries or chocolate chips. The answer they'd discovered was both. The office had adjusted faster than Ethan expected. After the initial wave of gossip, people moved on to other dramas. Danny still made inappropriate jokes about dating the boss, but even he admitted they were good together. The Cascade campaign had launched to rave reviews, bringing in 3 new clients. Tori had been proven right about Ethan's talent, which silenced most of the lingering doubters. Marcus Donovan had been terminated and was facing legal action for corporate espionage. Last, Ethan heard he was consulting for a struggling startup in Spokane and deeply regretting every choice that had led him there. But the real changes were smaller. Personal. The way Tori kept a drawer at Ethan's apartment now filled with spare glasses and comfortable clothes. The way Maya had started calling her Tori instead of Ms. Chen or Dad's girlfriend. Just her name, simple and accepting. The way Ethan had stopped feeling guilty every time he was happy. The third anniversary of Rachel's death arrived on a cold Tuesday in November. Ethan woke early, the date heavy on his chest like it always was. He made coffee in the pre-dawn darkness, then stood at the kitchen window watching Seattle wake up. Rain, of course. It always rained on this day. "Hey," he turned. Tori stood in the doorway wearing one of his old Huskies sweatshirts, hair messy from sleep. "Did I wake you?" "No, I set an alarm." She moved to stand beside him. "I wasn't sure if you wanted company today, but I wanted to be here, just in case." Something in Ethan's chest cracked open. "Thank you." They stood in comfortable silence, drinking coffee, watching the city emerge from darkness. Maya shuffled in around 7, already dressed, her expression solemn. "Ready?" she asked. They drove to Pike Place Market first, stopping at the flower stand where Rachel used to buy sunflowers every Saturday. The vendor, an older woman named Rose, recognized them immediately. 3 years, Rose said softly, wrapping a bouquet of the brightest sunflowers she had. "Still feels like yesterday sometimes, doesn't it?" "Every time," Ethan agreed. Rose's eyes flickered to Tori, assessing. "This is someone new." "Tori," Maya supplied. "She's Dad's girlfriend and my friend." "Well," Rose handed over the flowers with a knowing smile. "Rachel would want you to be happy. She told me that once near the end. Said if anything happened to her, you better not spend the rest of your life being sad," and Ethan's throat tightened. "She said that to you. She said it to everyone. Wanted to make sure we'd all give you permission to move on." Rose patted his hand. "So, move on, honey, with my blessing and hers." They took the flowers to Green Lake Memorial, where Rachel's ashes were scattered under a willow tree. The rain had softened to mist, coating everything in silver. Maya approached the memorial stone first, kneeling in the wet grass without hesitation. "Hi, Mom," she said quietly. "It's been 3 years. I brought someone to meet you." Tori hung back, giving them space, but Maya turned and waved her forward. "Come on, she'd want to know you." Tori looked at Ethan, uncertain. He nodded. She moved to stand beside Maya, and together they arranged the sunflowers at the base of the stone. "Mom, this is Tori," Maya continued, her voice steady. "She makes Dad smile again. And she's teaching me to code, and she doesn't try to replace you, which I really appreciate." Tori's eyes filled with tears. "I still miss you every single day," Maya said. "But I'm okay, we're okay. I think you'd like Tori. She's smart and funny, and she lets me stay up late sometimes when Dad's being too strict." Despite the gravity of the moment, Ethan almost smiled. "Anyway," Maya stood brushing grass from her knees, "just wanted you to know we're doing good, and that I'm growing up brave and kind, just like you wanted. Love you, Mom." She walked back toward the parking lot, giving Ethan and Tori a moment alone. Ethan knelt by the stone, touching the engraved letters of Rachel's name. "I'm doing my best," he said quietly. "With Maya. With everything. I hope you're proud of us." Tori knelt beside him. "I'll take good care of them, both of them, I promise." She was talking to Rachel, Ethan realized, making a vow to a woman she'd never met but whose absence shaped everything. "I can't replace you," Tori continued, her voice breaking slightly. "I won't even try, but I can love them. I can show up. I can be there for the hard days and the good ones. If you're watching, if you can somehow hear this, thank you for raising an incredible daughter, for loving a good man, for leaving the world better than you found it. They sat in the rain, honoring a ghost building a bridge between past and future. When they finally returned to the car, Maya was waiting with hot chocolate from the cafe across the street. "I got 3, she said. "Figured we could all use some." They sat in the parking lot drinking chocolate, watching the lake ripple under raindrops. Not talking, just being together. "This is nice," Maya said eventually. "Sad, but nice. Like we're all here together, even Mom." "Yeah," Ethan agreed. "She's always here." "Do you think she knows about Tori?" Tori tensed slightly, but Ethan reached over and took her hand. "I think she knows, and I think she's glad we found each other." Maya nodded satisfied. "Good, because I like having Tori around. It feels less lonely." "It does," Ethan agreed, meeting Tori's eyes. "It really does." 6 months later, on a spring evening that felt like Seattle's apology for winter, Ethan stood in his apartment surrounded by takeout containers and nervous energy. Tori was coming for dinner. Just the 3 of them, like most Friday nights, except tonight was different. Tonight, he had a ring in his pocket. "You're being weird again," Maya observed from the couch where she was supposedly doing homework but actually watching him pace. "I'm not being weird. You've checked your phone like 50 times, and you keep touching your pocket." "Perceptive, kid. Too perceptive. I'm just thinking about something. About asking Tori to marry you." Ethan froze. "How did you know? Grandma let it slip last week. Also, you're terrible at keeping secrets. You get this face." "What face?" "The face you're making right now. All nervous and smiley at the same time." He sat down beside her. "And you're okay with it?" "With me asking her?" Maya set down her math homework, turning to face him seriously. "Dad, I've been waiting for you to ask her for like 3 months. You're so slow. I wanted to make sure you were ready." "I've been ready. Tori's great. She makes you happy. She makes me happy, and she doesn't try to be Mom, which is important." Maya paused. "But she could be like a bonus mom if she wants." "A bonus mom? Yeah. I still have my real mom. She'll always be my mom. But Tori could be my bonus mom, the one who's here for the stuff Mom can't be here for." Ethan pulled Maya into a hug, overwhelmed by her wisdom. "When did you get so smart? I've always been smart. You just don't notice because you're a dad." The doorbell rang. Tori, right on time, carrying a bag from their favorite Thai place and a new book for Maya about women in technology. They ate dinner at the small table, falling into familiar patterns. Maya told them about the science fair project she was planning. Tori shared a story about a disastrous client meeting that had somehow ended in a signed contract. Ethan mostly just watched them, storing the moment away like a photograph. After dinner, Maya disappeared to her room with suspicious speed. "That was subtle," Tori said, laughing as they cleaned up. "She's not great at subtlety." "Neither are you. You've been acting strange all night. What's going on?" Ethan dried his hands on a towel, took a breath, and decided to just do it. No elaborate plan. No perfectly rehearsed speech. Just honesty. "I love you." Tori smiled. "I know. You've told me." "No, I mean, I'm in love with you, completely. Terrifyingly. The kind of love that makes me want to plan a future instead of just surviving the present." Her smile softened. "Ethan, you've brought light back into our lives. Maya's and mine. You show up for soccer games and school conferences and random Tuesday nights when nothing special is happening. You let me be sad sometimes about Rachel without getting jealous or weird about it. You're building something with us, and I don't want to do this halfway anymore." He pulled the ring box from his pocket, and Tori's hand flew to her mouth. "I know it's fast. I know we've only been officially together for 6 months. I know there are a million logical reasons to wait." He opened the box, revealing a simple platinum band with a small diamond. "But I'm done waiting for permission to be happy. Done apologizing for wanting things. So, Victoria Chen, will you marry us? Will you officially become part of this weird little family we're building?" Tori was crying, makeup running, not caring at all. "Yes," she said, laughing and sobbing at the same time. "Yes, yes, absolutely, yes." He slid the ring onto her finger with shaking hands. She kissed him, tasting like tears and Thai food and the future. "Maya," Tori called, pulling back. "You can come out now." Maya burst from her room like she'd been waiting by the door, which she probably had been. "Did you say yes?" "I said yes." Maya launched herself at Tori, wrapping her arms around her waist. "Finally, do I get to help plan the wedding?" "You get to do whatever you want," Tori said, holding her tight. "It's your wedding, too. Can we have chocolate cake instead of regular wedding cake? Absolutely. And can I wear sneakers with my dress? I wouldn't have it any other way." Ethan watched his daughter and his fiancé, his past and his future, and felt something settle in his chest. Peace, maybe. Or just the certainty that he was exactly where he was supposed to be. 1 year after that accidental text message on a Saturday afternoon in June, Ethan Parker married Victoria Chen in a small ceremony at Green Lake. The location had been Maya's idea, so Mom can be there too. They'd set up chairs under the willow tree where Rachel's memorial stone stood. White flowers everywhere, sunflowers mixed with roses. 50 guests, mostly close friends and family, the people who mattered. Maya stood between them as they exchanged vows, wearing a lavender dress and, indeed, sparkly sneakers. She held both their hands, part of the ceremony, instead of just watching it. Tori's vows made everyone cry. "I promise to show up," she said, voice steady despite her tears. "For soccer games and science fairs and random Tuesday dinners, I promise to honor the love that came before me, to never try to replace what can't be replaced. I promise to be Maya's bonus mom if she'll have me, and to love her as fiercely as I love her father. I promise to build a life with you both, not despite your past, but inclusive of it. Because Rachel will always be part of this family, and I'm honored to join it." Ethan's vows were simpler. "I promise to keep being terrible at technology, just so you can fix it and feel superior. I promise to support your ambitions and your dreams, even when they scare you. I promise to share my family with you because you've become the best part of it. And I promise to never, ever send you another inappropriate text message. Unless it's intentional," Tori added, and everyone laughed. They kissed under the willow tree while Maya cheered and guests applauded, and somewhere in the universe Ethan hoped Rachel smiled. The reception was held at a restaurant on the lake, casual and joyful, and exactly them. Danny gave a speech that was mostly inappropriate jokes about office romances. Patricia, Rachel's mother, welcomed Tori to the family with genuine warmth. Sarah Lynn from Cascade Coffee showed up with a gift basket and a new campaign proposal. But the best moment came late in the evening when Ethan found Tori and Maya on the deck overlooking the waterheads together, laughing about something. He stood in the doorway, watching them, his wife and his daughter, backlit by sunset, and thought about how far they'd all come. From a single dad, drowning in grief and deadlines. From a CEO convinced she had to be alone to be successful. From a little girl who'd lost her mother but gained a bonus mom who showed up, who cared, who stayed. "Dad," Maya called, waving him over. "Tori says we can get a dog now that we're a real family." "I said we could discuss it," Tori corrected, laughing. "Discussion accepted means yes in my experience." Ethan joined them on the deck, wrapping his arms around both of them. "No dog," he said. "Dad, maybe a cat." I want a dog. We'll see. They stood there, the three of them, watching the sunset over Seattle. A city of rain and coffee and second chances. A city where one wrong text message had led to everything right. Ethan thought about that night a year ago, sitting alone in his apartment, horrified by his mistake, certain his life was over. He'd been wrong. His life hadn't ended. It had just been waiting to expand. Sometimes the biggest mistakes lead to the greatest happiness. Sometimes the wrong person turns out to be exactly right. Sometimes love shows up when you least expect it, wearing expensive glasses and asking if you can still do your job effectively. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, you get more than one chance at happy. Ethan had found his second chance. In a woman who challenged him and supported him in equal measure. In a daughter who was braver than she knew. In a family they built together from unexpected pieces. As the last light faded from the sky and the first stars appeared rare and precious in Seattle's usually cloudy night, Tori leaned her head on Ethan's shoulder. "Best wrong text you ever sent," she murmured. "Best wrong text I ever sent," he agreed. Maya squeezed between them. "Can we go inside? I want cake." "Always thinking about food," Ethan teased. "I'm a growing kid, and it's chocolate. Obviously, I want cake." They walked back inside together toward music and laughter and a future that was uncertain but no longer lonely. Toward a life they'd built accidentally on purpose. One text message, one dinner, one choice at a time. And if you listened carefully beneath the music and conversation, you might have heard 3 words carried on the wind. Words that sounded suspiciously like, "I approve." Whether it was Rachel giving her blessing or just the universe acknowledging that sometimes things work out exactly as they should, Ethan chose to believe it was both. After all, he'd learned something important this year. Magic happens when you stop being afraid of making mistakes, when you let yourself be vulnerable, when you send the text to the wrong person who turns out to be exactly the right one. If this story touched your heart, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. There's something beautiful about knowing these stories of second chances and unexpected love are reaching people all over the world, reminding us that it's never too late to start again. And if you believe in happy endings that come from happy accidents, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories that celebrate the messy, beautiful chaos of being human. Because sometimes the best things in life start with a mistake. Sometimes the wrong text goes to exactly the right person. And sometimes, if you're brave enough to take the chance, love finds you when you least expect it and most need it. Thank you for being part of this journey.